I always lived over by Brinton, which is just a little small development where they used to have coal kilns. And my first recollection is the little stone house that we lived in. When we moved from there, we rented a house, and then my dad bought a house right in the little village of Brinton. We lived there until my dad bought a farm. He was a farmer. We milked about 14 cows. He worked in the city in a factory through the week and come home on the weekends, and my mother milked the cows. It was a big farmhouse, but it started out, it was a hotel down in the village of Brinton, and they moved it up there, and somebody by the name of Frank Foote had it moved, and he lived there for a while, and that's who my dad bought it from. And we lived there in that 5-bedroom house until I graduated from high school. I graduated from Barrington High School in 1953, and then we got married. Eldon and I got married, and I moved away from that house, moved to Barrington, Sears. Lived with Eldon's grandma and grandpa, Clyde and Elizabeth McNeilly, till we rented a little house of our own. Debbie was born at Grandma and Grandpa McNeilly's. Oh, Debbie was almost 2. We moved to Grand Rapids. We lived in Grand Rapids while Melody and Rose, Kevin, Jeff were born. And then we come back to Barrington, bought the store, and Lori and Trudy were born after we got up here. We bought a house on Costa Bella Road, and then we moved from there up to, Eldon went to work for the Boy Scouts, and after he got done with the Boy Scouts, we bought the original Art McNeilly farm and moved down here, built a house, and we've been here ever since. I remember my first day of school when we lived on William Beck Road. I had to walk about half a mile, but I had older brothers and sister that walked with me. We had no electricity. We didn't get electricity till I was about 12 years old. We had kerosene lamps and hot with a big coal furnace. I remember my first kindergarten teacher was Miss Allen. I loved her to pieces. But we rode the bus, and older kids always looked out for the younger kids. I remember that. We looked up to them, and they kind of took care of us, took us under their wing. And I went to Barrington to school. Well, I played basketball. That's about it. We didn't do too much activities in school. We lived so far from school, and we weren't very wealthy. We didn't have a lot of money, and of course my dad was away all week. When I was 16, my dad passed away, so that made it a traumatic time in our life, and we sold my brother was in the Air Force, and we sold the cows. Well, no, we sold the cows later because my mother had such a hard time with trying to milk them, and my brother wasn't home, and I think I was about 17 probably when we sold the cows and didn't have that anymore. When we were kids at home, my dad worked at Oldsmobile, stayed with my Uncle Jerry, which was my dad's brother, because he worked there too. And on weekends, my dad would come home and catch up on things that he couldn't do through the week. And after he quit the city, working in the city, and he just milked cows, and he loved to fish. He loved to fish. He would fish in the summer, and then in the winter, he would get his chores done in the morning and take his little sled and walk all the way to Littlefield Lake, which is about probably 4 miles from the house. My mother was Nora Evelyn Forbes. Her parents were Leland and Flossie Forbes. They lived not too far from us. It was good that they were close to us, and we spent a lot of time down there together. Getting ready for school in the morning was kind of a hassle because we had chores to do in the morning before we got ready for school, and then you just washed up in a wash basin, had the water on we had a wood stove in the kitchen. That's what we cooked on, and of course that had the kitchen up good, but we had that big coal furnace that hit the house. The upstairs of our house was not hit. It was just whatever came from downstairs through a little register in the floor of the room. We would heat stones in the oven of our wood stove and take them to bed with us, wrap them in a towel and take them to bed with us to warm our feet at night in the winter because it was so cold up there. Okay. I was 12 years old when we got electricity, and boy, that was a holiday for us when we bought a electric refrigerator. My uncle worked at Herpelsheimer's in Grand Rapids, and he got us a big discount on a refrigerator, and I think that refrigerator sat in our house for 6 or 8 months before we finally got electricity, and we could use it. And I remember my mother making, because we had our own cows, I remember my mother making ice cream on a rennet tablets in that new freezer when we got it. And oh my goodness, that was so good because we never had ice cream, or we had homemade ice cream occasionally, but to have, oh, we thought that was just the berries. And to this day, it feels like I can still remember that delicious ice cream. Well, actually, I don't think that electric refrigerator done that much difference, because we had an ice box, and my dad would get ice, big blocks, they'd cut big blocks of ice out of the lakes, and we had a basement in our granary where it was full of sawdust, and we'd put those big blocks of ice in there, and that would keep all winter and all summer. And we put those blocks of ice in the ice box, and that kept things cold. But most of our food was canned. Our meat was canned, our vegetables were all canned. We didn't, like now we have, everything goes in the refrigerator. We didn't have that kind of food and stuff. But we didn't realize we were so poor because everybody else was, poor around us. We didn't have anybody we had some relatives that lived in Grand Rapids that come up real often, probably every weekend or every other weekend, and we always thought they were quite rich, but we never felt like they liked to come to our house, and we always had all the food we wanted. And every Sunday my dad would kill a chicken or 2 or 3, and we'd every Sunday have mashed potatoes, fried chicken, biscuits and gravy, and lots of times we'd have homemade noodles. Our Christmases were pretty sparse. We didn't get much for Christmas, but we really appreciated what we got. When we were little, the girls got a doll. I remember one year my brother, when the ballpoint pens first came out, he got a ballpoint pen that was huge. I mean, it was like a foot long and as big as your thumb around, and we really thought that was something, but he got that for Christmas. But my mother made us pajamas every year for Christmas. We always got pajamas or nightgown. She done all our sewing. Us girls always had homemade clothes, and she'd make them out of, when we got feed for our chickens, she would make sure that when she got the feed, that she got enough bags with the same print, which was like we buy in yard goods now, to make us girls a dress or a pinafore. She made a lot of pinafores with big ruffles on the sleeves and blouses, and we had an old treadle sewing machine, and that worked with it had a pulley on it and a belt, and you just run it with your feet. And your feet went back and forth and kept it going, and the needle going up and down. That's where we learned to sew. We always had neighbors that would come over, and we'd play outdoors a lot. The kids with our age, you know, and we'd play outdoors a lot. Tag and Dock on a Rock and hide and seek, and the parents would always play cards. We had kerosene lamps, yeah, and we carried them around the house like today would drive me crazy if my grandkids were carrying those around like we used to carry them around. Yeah, and we had lanterns. Kerosene, it was all kerosene lanterns and kerosene lamps, and well, we all had old wood stoves, you know, that you cooked on. Everybody cooked on a wood stove. And I remember some people just lived on our corner that their name was Daniels, and their house caught fire from a wood stove overheating. Sometimes those wood stoves would put too much wood in there, and the top where you cooked would get pure red. Just, it would be so hot, the iron or whatever it was made out of. Then I remember before my dad passed away, he borrowed $1,200 from my grandma and grandpa Forbes to buy a brand new Chevrolet. And he paid $1,200 for it. And then we done thrashing, our shredded corn we had a corn shredder, and he went around to the neighbors and shredded corn and got paid for it. And what he made from that, he paid Grandma and Grandpa back for the $1,200 that he borrowed for the car. I remember that. And then one year he got his arm caught in the shredder and tore his arm all up and had hundreds of stitches in his arm. He was in Grand Rapids in the hospital. When the kids were growing up, as soon as they were old enough to be in 4-H, we got them in 4-H, and, well, mostly with cattle, but then Eldon would work with them with the cattle. I would work with a group with like cooking and setting tables. They had gardening, they had flowers and gardening and sewing. They did sewing in 4-H, the kids did. And then as they got older, they kind of all went to, they had calves and showed cows, and then Andy Stanley was their 4-H leader, and they had a lot of activities when he was the leader. We used to have programs at school, that country shows, and so many people participated in them. And then Gene Brigner got some country singers up, and we had to make money. We had them come and we'd charge for it. They'd have a big to-do about that. I like to talk and he doesn't, and the speech teacher thought maybe I'd do him so good, or he'd quiet me down and put me right beside him in speech class, but it didn't work. I still talked. We didn't go to very many movies. We didn't have money. He had a car, but it was broke down most of the time. Well, we were on a date. It was December 19th, and he said, there's something in the glove compartment. There's something in the glove compartment for you. And so I opened it up, and there was a sack and a box in it, and that's how we got engaged. But it was December 19th. I was a senior in high school. Got married the next fall, November 28th, 1953. And he went off to Muskegon and went to work. And then he went to work, he worked in a foundry in Muskegon, and then he went to work, he worked on the road, worked for the road construction, building roads and stuff. I graduated on my birthday, I remember that, in 1953. It was really hot. I don't remember much about it. I remember I got a new dress for it. My mother bought me a new dress, so that's about all I remember. We didn't have very big class. not like they do now. We've graduated from the Barretton building of, now it's the elementary school. I worked at Clare, took care of 4 kids, little monsters. I rode with a guy named Raymond Houston every day to work over to Clare, which was about 25 miles. And I worked 5 days a week there, and on the weekend if they wanted me to. If the parents wanted to do something, then I'd work on the weekends. We didn't go swimming very much. We were quite a ways from the lake. I never learned how to swim, but we used to, when we were kids and working in the fields, helping Dad in the fields, he would take us like this place that was called Ritziger Dam. There was a little bit of water there, and we'd go play in the water to cool off, or once in a while we went to 8 Point Lake. And then when I was in high school, probably 11th grade, a couple of my uncles that used to come and stay at our house all the time were building cottages on Crooked Lake, and we'd go out there occasionally, but not too much. I remember one time, me and a cousin, we walked out there in a day, and it was like 15 miles, I think, but we walked out there. My wedding day, it was kind of cold. I remember I had a beautiful blue dress on. Just, it wasn't a wedding dress, it just came below my knees, and I had rhinestones on the neck, on the collar of the neck. I remember, my dad was gone by then, but I remember my mother was walking down the aisle and got her heel caught in the register of the aisle of the church, lost her shoe and broke her heel off. Our reception was at Brenton in the town hall, and everybody when anybody got married over there or anything happened, everybody within miles came to your reception. I still got the cards today from my wedding reception and my first baby shower. Remember how nervous I was for the wedding. Reverend Davis married us. He's a tall, skinny preacher, and he married us, but I can remember being so scared that, yeah, I was always a very nervous person, so it was a pretty simple ceremony. We got married at the Church of God in Barretton, and he was the preacher there then. Yeah. We never went to church there. We had a little Sunday school in Brenton when I was growing up, and we always went to Sunday school every Sunday. And in the summer we had Bible school. But then when I started going with Eldon, we started going to church where his grandma McNeilly went, and it was the Sears Church of God, and it was an old store up in Sears. Big old store, and it had wooden floors and wooden pews, and that's where we went to church when we went to church after we were going together. We lived with Grandma and Grandpa McNeilly when Debbie was born. I can't remember how old she was when we rented a house from Andy Stanley, a little house. We had a little house of our own. I remember Carol, my younger sister, used to come and stay with us a lot. Grandma McNeilly used to get material for the missionaries by the bags full. She'd send away for it, and she'd give me all the big pieces, so I always made Debbie cute little outfits, but I remember making her hats with a huge bill kind of like this on it, big huge bill. I can remember making her those, making her little pinafores, and when she was little. Yeah, she was a good baby. We moved to Grand Rapids before Melody was born, and I was used to just having one baby around. Then we had Debbie and Melody, and I remember my sister Bonnie lived in Grand Rapids too, and right after Melody was born, I remember Bonnie come and got me, and we were going to go somewhere, and we lived in an upstairs apartment, and got Debbie all in the car. We never had car seats then because we didn't have to have them. Got Debbie in the car, and we never moved the car. And I asked Bonnie what the holdup was, why we weren't going. She said, well, I'm just going to sit here and see how long it takes you to remember you got another baby upstairs in that apartment that you've forgotten. And I'd forgotten Melody because it was just, she was just a tiny baby, just brand new. And so then I had to go up and get Melody out of the apartment and bring her down. Yeah.
So did Melody like to talk when she was a little baby?
Oh yeah, she always talked. She loved to talk. She started talking when she was, I don't know, she was just tiny when she started talking. And she hasn't quit yet. We won't tell her that. She can't see this film, okay. Rose, now she never did talk. We were kind of concerned about her and took her to the doctor because she never talked, and the doctor said, why should she talk? She's got 2 sisters that do her all her talking for her. When we moved back up here, we lived just across the field from Jean and Louise, and the kids always were outdoors, and they always played half away. Their toys were all half away with the Brigner kids and the McNeilly kids. They always were really close, always had a lot of fun together. When our kids were growing up, you never knew how many kids they were going to bring home for a meal, so you just, well, Eldon always said just add more water to the soup. But yeah, you always cooked a lot extra because you never knew. And I think I kind of picked that up from growing up because at home we never knew how many was going to be there when I was a kid growing up. Always made sure the kids had something hot to eat before they got on the bus. That was always an obsession with me. They had to have, and I'd go from oatmeal to cocoa wheats to mulled meal to oatmeal and around scrambled eggs or toast or, yeah. Always was obsessed with them having a hot breakfast before they went to school. And we did a lot of camping. We never had any fantastic trips. One year I remember when they were all still at home, we went up to Canada and took that train ride. But most of all our trips were camping trips and yeah, things like that didn't cost a whole lot of money. You know what, the hay rides, I don't remember how they got started. I just think I remember one year I said that would be such a good idea because of all the kids and grandkids, and hide them back through the woods and take them on, you know, a wagon. And I think it just went from there and just kept going, and I don't even remember what year it was. It's been a while. It's been a while because the grown grandkids are in the pictures when they were little. So it's been quite a while. And we've had some disasters and we've had some good times. Well, they've all been good times, but some of them, you know, well, like that storm when we made the fast trip that year, and the year that Brendan didn't get a basket because the squirrels had carried it off. And yeah, we've got some good memories. I love them. I love them. Well, we started with one wagon and put bales of hay on it and tractor. Uncle Jeff was always our tractor driver. And we'd go back through the woods along the Chippewa River. We'd hang the baskets in the trees and on the stumps and wherever we could find a place to hang them. And the kids would all have their names on their baskets, and we'd go around and they'd jump off the wagon as their basket came up. And then we had to graduate to 2 wagons because one wagon wasn't enough for everybody, so now we use 2 wagons. This year we kind of had a disaster because our old red farm tractor stalled out just before we got to the lane to go up, and we had to switch tractors. But that was okay. Nobody got hurt. Well, thank the Lord, nobody's gotten hurt so far. And there's been a lot of jumping on and off the tractors and the wagons, and I think the kids have fun. I hope they have fun. Our Christmases are great, I mean, there's something that's important to me, is the kids all getting together for Christmas. And I don't know, I think it started with Eldon's mother and dad, because we used to always get together there, and then they started going to Arizona, and it's always been important to me that, you know, something special for Christmas, for memories, or for the ones that wanted to remember, you know, and I'm sure years from now when they get thinking about it, that's what they'll be remembering, is hopefully that's what they'll be remembering, because I know it means a lot to me. When the older grandkids were younger, we used to have plays, and we had them for several years. Somebody would be in charge, and we'd have different plays, and we'd have singing. But now those young grandkids are all grown up, and now we're having great grandkids, and they're not quite old enough yet to understand. So we have, well, this year we had kids bingo, and we have white elephant, and that's a lot of fun, and we just eat a lot. This year we had a box social, so everybody brought a box, and everybody ate with somebody else, and that was good. They ate somebody else's box because we picked numbers, and that was fun. That was fun. So, oh yeah, and then Eldon, for 1 year for his birthday, we had an old brown Chevy Blazer. Well, it wasn't old when we bought it, but everybody just loved it. And then 1 year for his birthday or something, I got him one of those things that play different horns. And oh my gosh, the kids love to ride in that. I got a picture of Melina sitting in there. She's a little teeny tyke, sitting in behind the steering wheel. She had a little hat on. She was so cute. Yeah. Hoot owls are hooting, daylight in the swamp, hoot owls are hooting. And Melina always wanted me to write those down. And, well, they just come from when I was a kid. Daylight in the swamp, hoot owls are hooting, rise and shine. Louise Brigner lived next door, and her sister-in-law was Eileen Brigner, and they were going shopping one day, and I was going to watch their kids. Louise had 4 kids, and Eileen had 2. And I was going to watch their kids so they could go shopping. I said, but you just got to bring me back an outfit. Well, they did. They brought me back these used. They'd went to a used store. These black shorts and a little black tank top, a hat, and some high-heeled shoes. And they had me put them on so they could take pictures. And that was when our kids were all real little. And like last year it was, I got a letter in the mail from Eileen, and she'd seen this picture in the paper that looked just about like the picture that she'd taken of me many, many, many years ago. And she said, I saw this and it reminded me of you, so she sent it to me. I got the picture upstairs somewhere. But we went to Hawaii in 1982 for our 25th wedding anniversary. It wasn't right at the date, but yeah, we had a good time there.
Anniversary.
Oh, our 50th anniversary, how could I ever forget that? I gotta put this up here. That was a disaster. I remember getting ready for it, and we were supposed to be down the hall, and my son-in-law parked his car behind our vehicle so we couldn't get it out. And he would never move his car, and he finally, when we all got ready together, he said, well, just might as well come and ride with us. And so we hopped in with our son-in-law and our oldest daughter and headed for Barreton. And I said, we have to turn right here, Jim. The hall's right up here. And he said, oh, okay, I missed it. Went a little farther, and I said, oh, I guess you can turn this corner. You gotta turn here. And he says, oh, I gotta go to the bank. I recall that. So we went down the bank. He's going to the ATM. It's just on a Saturday night. late Saturday afternoon. He's going to the ATM, but he went the wrong way into the ATM, and back behind the bank was a manure spreader, not a limousine, a manure spreader that he knew was there all the time, and that's what they put us in to drive us through Barreton, up Main Street, down M66 to the hall. Eldon and I in a manure spreader.
The whole town was out there.
The whole town was out there with banners and our pictures on popsicle sticks, and the streets were lined with all those people. Talk about being embarrassed. Most kids take their parents in a limousine. We went in a limousine, all right. But they did wash it up. It was very clean. It was very clean.
So tell me about that party.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was a country hoedown. It was so much fun. A lot of people were there. I don't remember how many, but we square danced, we ate. It was fantastic. It was the best 50th anniversary anybody could ever ask for. It was great, great.